Welcome back, Weather Kingdom. In this video, we're going to be looking at the hurricane season outlook and discussion. I am sorry that it is not spelled correctly, discussion. I just realized that, but I want to talk about here with the Atlantic hurricane season and give you guys anomalies, model data, water temps, absolutely everything I can go over, and then my forecast and some other forecasts. So we're going to be starting it out with the National Hurricane Center. Alright, so do see something in the Atlantic brewing in the next 15 days, okay? Maybe not soon, but as we get into the end of July into August, I do think we are going to start seeing some yellows popping up deep in the tropics. And could we even see a tropical storm in the beginning of August in the MDR? That's a very good question, as we are going to be taking a look at some data for it, and there's some support for a wave to watch and probably a good area to hatch, at 20-30%, but we will have to just wait and see. So this is the European ensembles, and it's pretty crazy to me that we are going to be taking a look at this. I mean, we have a massive uptick once again in the subtropics, as we will be getting some cold fronts, and yeah, we could be dealing with another case of a homegrown system as we get into the next couple weeks. That will be possible, and I will keep you guys updated if we do see any more chances for that. If not, we could see some tropical depressions and out to sea tropical storms possible with Dexter, because I do not think the Louisiana one will develop. It is too close to land, and its probabilities have went down significantly. But as you can tell here, we do got an area in the main development region, and there's a lot of ensembles on it, and they're actually pretty strong, anywhere from a tropical depression to even 1,000 millibars, and that's even a tropical storm. This goes out 240 hours out. This goes about 10 days out as we get into the 26th of July. I'm not buying activity yet, but I would like to keep the trends going, because in this time period, as we get later, the MJO becomes more favorable, and the wind shear will be more favorable in it, and the dry air. I think what's gonna kill this is the dry air. There's a little bit too much dry air, but this is probably gonna be one of those strong tropical waves that does get a hatch area, that at least of a 20%, and starts the alarming for the main development region aspect of this hurricane season. So speaking on the European, now let's go into the actual European model and see what we have here. So I've been seeing this on a lot of the long range of the Euro, and it's been very consistent on it for the last couple days. And we can actually get closer to, let's just go all the way out to close 5 days out. You really don't see that much of stuff. Maybe a tropical wave there, nothing homegrown besides that system that goes in Louisiana, nothing really in the MDR. We go even further out, seriously, just nothing. But as we get into the 168 hour mark, this July 23rd, I want you guys to take an alarm here in the MDR. Alright, we have an area right here, a strong tropical wave. How can you tell if there's a strong tropical wave there? Okay, we got some very deep reds velocities, maybe not so much bundled up, but we do have a very strong tropical wave. Also, we could tell by the wind barbs kind of going around like this right here and kind of coming back here. So a very strong tropical wave coming off Africa, and something to keep a watch out for. So as we get into the 24th of July, this tropical wave continues to move its carrier. We do get a isobar on it, still a little bit ragged and open, but probably a hatch area to watch, because if it could become in future runs a little bit more aggressive, and we could see even a tropical storm out of it, or tropical depression, or a very close chance of a depression. Okay, as we get into the 25th here, this tropical wave starts encountering some dry air. Still a pretty strong wave here, access, you can tell. A lot of vorticity as we get into central NDR. Pretty much what the models are showing. I do think the Euro might even uptick a bit more. We also got another couple Kelvin wave back into Africa, a little bit more north. So the European tells me here we are starting to see some pretty good signatures of storms. Now let's take it into the 26th. So here's the tropical wave. We have another very strong tropical wave coming off Africa. We got our Bermuda high really suppressing it and keeping it with dry air. This is the wave starting to weaken now because of the dry air. And I'll be showing you guys that in just a moment. As we get into the 27th here, the tropical wave is still there, very broad, but starting to enter the Western Antilles and the Caribbean islands. As we got our next strong tropical wave there, and we also got some vorticity hanging around the main off the Atlantic coast and areas like that. Canadians a little bit more aggressive, and GFS on that. I'm not really going to talk about that part, only if it really does, but you can tell this tropical wave does go in the Caribbean and kind of goes into Dominican Republic. This is that other tropical wave coming in, and that one will get strung out, and then this is another tropical wave right here that gets stretched out, probably because of how the high is and everything. We don't really see anything near homegrown on the European, but we get another very strong tropical wave right into here. Some more, even more vorticity as we get into the 28th and the 30th and 31. We could be dealing with another two strong tropical waves, and this goes out at 360 hours, but this is not even August. Okay, so very interesting stuff on the European that I really wanted to pop out for you guys. Okay, I want to take it back here to about 168 hours. This is that tropical wave. I want you guys to take a look at the dry air at this point. So the tropical wave does start out pretty moist, but to the north of it, very dry air. And it does try and develop a low pressure and maybe gets a hatch area, alright? But look at all this dry air surrounding it, and that kind of follows it and kind of takes all of its moisture out, and then we get more dry air from South America and kind of eats this tropical wave up, still bringing showers and thunderstorms and some gusty winds into the Western Antilles. And then this will pretty much go into the Dominican and then into a lingering cold front. But as we go into the end, yeah, there's still some dry air, but you can tell pretty moist Africa here, as we got a tropical wave here. We got probably another one right there coming off, and a pretty strong tropical wave right there too, with a little bit more moisture. So if we can get a little bit less dry air and more moisture, I do think we will be having some better chances for a tropical storm or more. Do we see this on any other models? And pretty much what I see here is the Canadian. This is actually brand new, fresh, 0Z. So we are about to get some pretty good information on it. And hopefully I can get enough. This goes out 204 hours out. It's going to be interesting, alright? So we would like to go in the next 3 days. Pretty strong, vigorous tropical wave. And let's just go all the way out. And very interesting. Alright. So we get into some of this. Alright. Let me actually go to vorticity. Very interesting. So it seems like the latest Canadian actually upticked in activity in the main development region. A lot more vorticity spinning around as we get into later July here. This is about that 90-hour mark in the next couple days. But I want you guys to take a look as we get into about the 22nd. So the Europeans a day later, the Canadians a little bit sooner coming off, but a very strong tropical wave, probably one of the stronger tropical waves of the season here, probably one of the strongest, and the best chance for tropical development. Okay. We see this kind of continue, and to me, the Canadian really, I mean, it's not closed, but I mean, it is very vigorous, much more vigorous than the last Canadian model run. Because if we take a look at last run to this run, a lot more vigorous, but this tropical wave will continue to move as we get into the 24th into the MDR. We even get a little bit of a close isobar, but a very, very vigorous and strong tropical wave on the Canadian here, and something to watch. Okay, we got another hour, but there it is. That tropical wave does start to die a bit, just like the European, because of that dry air. But that will be probably one of our stronger tropical waves of the season. Okay, there's definitely some dry air there, something to watch. We also see that cold front continuing, and we really don't get any storm to develop. Maybe something brief, but well, that's for another day. But all I'm going to say is a much stronger tropical wave on the Canadian, something to keep an eye on. Okay, the GFS, this goes to 222 hours out, and once again, really showing nothing. We have nothing in the works here. Not even off the East Coast here. Actually, it does as we get into the 23rd. Maybe another Gulf storm or something. I don't buy that yet. But the MDR pretty much dried out. Nothing to really worry about. Okay? So that's just a little hint I want to give you guys of the Atlantic hurricane season. Okay, now I want to take a look at the MJO, and I want you guys to take a look at today. So this is today. This is that latest run of, yes, this is technically the latest. This is our MJO forecast going to phases 6, 7, and then back into neutral, but then tries and sneaks out into phases 1 and 2, where it will be good for the Atlantic side. This actually has trended on the European monthly forecast better and better in recent runs, and I'm about to show you guys that though. Okay, so this is Wednesday. Today is Thursday now. This was yesterday. Today's Thursday. And this was Tuesday. And this is Wednesday. Look at that little shift here. This is Tuesday. A little bit more in that neutral phase and less support in the 1 and 2 phases. This is today run. A lot more closer into phases 1 and 2. We go into Monday. It was a lot less favorable there and looking like more of a neutral phase. Sunday, not showing anything. Saturday, a lot less. So we go from that Friday even to pretty much today, a lot more of a positive and good MJO for the Atlantic side in phases 8, 1, 2, and 3. These are the good phases for the Atlantic side. Just wanted to give you guys that heads up, that MJO favorability. And this is not the only thing I want to talk about too. Alright, I want to take a look at the MJO on the GFS. And this is, I want to take a look at the next, let's go 120 hours out. Alright, The favorability in the main development region does become a little bit more favorable. Still not enough yet. Alright? As we go into the 23rd, still to me looks like unfavorable on the GFS. Maybe that's why it's not really showing that wave. And even the 24th, and it kind of never gets that MJO good. And what I can see by July 31st into August 1st, look at that. The Atlantic has started to wake up here, and the United States, a lot more convection, a lot more favorability as we get into August 1st, could help tropical waves. Also, as we go into the full, you can tell it keeps trending better and better. This was the 18Z, okay? A positive MJO coming into the Atlantic for a little bit, okay? This is the European here. Let's go all the way out here into the 31st. And looks to me as this is still racing this way. Let's go a little bit more. This is MJO is still racing, same thing like the GFS. But look at that. In Africa now, we got more tropical waves. This is what I am expecting, guys. The favorability is slowly but surely showing, and the signs are showing that August and September will be a very busy activity period, and probably even into October and November. That is a little bit farther down the road and not ready to be discussed. But now let's take a look at the precip on the Cancer. Alright, so this is pretty much this month. Dry. And this is actually pretty positive. We had a lot of moisture and cold fronts through here. Very positive on that. Drier down here, yeah, pretty positive. Moist down here, and pretty much a dry MDR for supporting no tropical waves. Okay, this model actually did a pretty good job with July. Now I want to take you into August, and yeah, we go from that to this. August, the whole Caribbean is light up. Same areas in the subtropics along the east coast, Gulf of Mexico, and all through the main development region is ready for action as we get into August. This is very interesting and concerning signs that I would like to keep a watch out for, but something to really keep an eye for. And then September, that just stays pretty much the same, even more moisture into September. A very busy September here possible. Very moist, and if that MJO can kick in perfectly, yeah, we're gonna have some troubling concerns, and we have to watch with the drier as it gets less and shear continues to get less. As we go into October, very moist, very busy Atlantic hurricane season. Looks to me, especially in the Bay of Campeche and the gyro. Alright. Then we go into November, pretty busy even in the Atlantic, Caribbean, areas like that. And probably a lot more subtropical storms, and then that will go away. But there's something to keep an eye on, another sign of the Atlantic that could be very busy. Alright. So now I want to take you guys a good glance here of a slideshow I made that will be closing out the rest of the stream and giving you guys my forecast. Okay, so this is the August traction forecast. You get a high off the Atlantic coast here. This is at 50 to 60%, and then that even 70+% in the Caribbean islands here. This is that August forecast, and I can really see this. This is kind of the whole August storm tracks on average. And I can really see this play out pretty well. So, something to watch. Look at your area. Please, especially in the Carolinas. You guys have a chance there too. But something to watch. Alright? So remember, was I made this a little bit ago, but we are, if we had to say about here, we are probably about here. All right, this is about the 17th. All right, sorry about that, but we're not even ready for the peak, and that comes in August, you guys. So very interesting stuff. That positive MJO again, that was shown into the first weeks of August, and the end of July still looks like it will be showing. Years to compare the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season with, and here is three. We got 2017, 2011, and 1999. First off, look at that. Pretty quiet June. We had two named storms, very true. We had that one, Arlene, in April in 2017. July, we had a tropical depression and one tropical storm. All right, we were by August. Emily came in the end of July. You guys, very interesting actually stuff here. Emily, our D name storm looks like it could be coming at the end of July, maybe August, but very close to 2017's timeline. And then August was pretty busy, and then September was just straight out hectic, and into October, and even into November was very active. And this was a very similar pattern. It was neutral year slash La Nina, were above average water temperatures. Like this pattern aligns, and some signs are showing it like 2017. This would be more the active and more as close to the 20 name storms. 2011, very busy. Weak La Nina switched to a neutral in the mid-season to later season, like 2025's hurricane season expected, in very similar conditions. The water temps I looked at and everything. June, it was one name storm. July, there was three. We got into D, and then Emily came into August, and then August was pretty weak storms. We had Franklin, Gert, Harvey, and then we had that Category 3 major hurricane Irene, and then that tropical depression 10. August was a very busy part, and then we even had Jose carry out, and Katia as we enter September. So very busy August, and a very busy September. Even the end of September into October was pretty busy too, and then even a storm in November. So very similar pattern, something to keep an eye on. This would be like a 2017, but a little bit less on hurricanes and major hurricanes. More, it was more quantity over quality. All right. Now we go into the 1911 season. We had one storm in June and a tropical depression in July. We did not even have a storm in the end of July into about mid-August. Then we had Brett. Our B-name storm in 1999 came in like August 15th. And then we had Cindy right after with a Category 4. Dennis was a Category 2. And the end of August was very busy with Emily then. And then early September, nothing really. Later September, we had Floyd, Gert, Harvey. And then October was very packed, and into November. A Category 4 into November. And then we had Katrina, Jose, Irene, Tropical Depression 12, and Tropical Depression 11. This was a very busy hurricane season, above average waters, and neutral pattern that developed into a La Nina by the later part of hurricane season. Slow beginning, just like how we are, but pretty on pace, alright? Now I want to take you guys to the favorite and best part, is the names of the my forecast. So the TSR forecast is our agencies. 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. AccuWeather, 13 to 18 named storms, 7 to 10 hurricanes, 3 to 6 major hurricanes. The Weather Channel, 19, very aggressive, 9 hurricanes and 4 major hurricanes. The Colorado State University, 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major Hurricanes very aggressive too, but very possible. The UA, University of Arizona, 15 name storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. North something. It was another agency, very big. 12 to 15 name storms, a little bit lower on that. 6 to 8 hurricanes, 2 to 3 major hurricanes. And then David Sothauer, I added his forecast because I actually can pretty much agree with it too. Possibility, a little off than mine, but I was going with what I saw and how this could be. He had 11 to 15 named storms, 5 to 8 hurricanes, and 1 to 3 majors. The NOAA Climate Prediction Center hurricane season forecast was 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 5 major hurricanes. With my forecast, and this will be all over, 15 to 17 named storms, 6 to 8 hurricanes, and 3 to 5 major hurricanes. I do think that's very possible as we get later in the hurricane season. Alright, so there's my forecast, everybody, and I hope you guys really like and enjoy on it. So thank you guys for watching to my outlook, hurricane outlook, and discussion for July into August, and the overall my numbers for the Atlantic hurricane season, and gave you guys enough information. I know this will probably be a good 20-30 minute video, but if you guys want to look through it, scan through it, and look at parts that you really want to know, please feel free to do that. Thank you guys for all your guys' support, and please like and subscribe and share, and that will close it out for this one. Have a great rest of your day.